Hi there, Zamir for NerdTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 7, The Strings That Bind Us. Just like last week, we have another excellent, heartwarming episode. This show, when it comes to the feels and just things being so sweet, even when it comes to adversity, just makes this show a breath of fresh air. Ted Lasso is not a downbeat show. Even when it does go down that dark path, it gets you back up again very quickly. And we see that in this episode as well. Everything's going to shit at the moment regarding Richmond. They're not doing well. They even lose a match in this episode too against my boys Arsenal. But still, even though they lost, the way they kind of came back in the game, you could see that there was a feel good factor there too. Like they played total football. Even what's his name, Trent Krim, or the journalist who works now with Ted Lasso, even he was positive regarding the way they played football, the total football idea which he got from last week. They're trying to implement that, and he's happy with that too. But I would have to say, the total football training scheme sessions we had, they were definitely, when it came to the comedy, like the most funniest parts of this episode. Initially, Ted Lasso is teaching these boys how to play total football, and that requires a lot of training, a lot of exercise. So much so that our boys are throwing up everywhere, and that's funny in its own right. But Roy Kent, he's always been a sadistic person, and his idea to tie strings around the players' sticks, you could tell that Roy Kent wasn't doing this because he thought this would be a good idea regarding the training. He did it because he wanted to cause some punishment, and you can see he's laughing to himself. There's very rare moments where Roy is laughing and smiling. They're few and far between, but he knew what he was doing, and I have to say I was laughing a lot as well. But outside of the total football, we do get relationships like Keely and Jack, Nate, and the girl from the restaurant who wants to go on a date with, as well as Sam and people who works in this restaurant as and his father too. Like relationships and bonds, they play a very big part, and it also adds to the feel good factor of what Ted Lasso is offering us. This is, like I said before, this is such a warm show, and there's not many shows that has this level of heart in it right now, because it doesn't let the like the negatives overcome the positives. The positives play a big part in what makes this show so great, and we need more feel good shows like Ted Lasso, and I love it for that alone. Even when we have moments with like Sam, for instance, protesting against a politician who's very anti-immigrant, anti-refugee, and Sam is tweeting back and forth with this politician. So much so that the repercussions of that is that causes vandalism in his own restaurant. But we see a lovely moment where his teammates come to his restaurant and they start, cleaning it up, repairing it, painting it, all of these things because of the love his teammates have for Sam, and and obviously wanting to help him. And his father comes along, Sam's father comes along, and he cooks for the team and stuff like that. Like the bonding and everything, it's like one big happy family, and it just makes you feel so good inside seeing that. No matter what sort of adversity these guys go through, they overcome it, and it's beautiful. It really is. Keely and Jack, like Keely being a rich person, like she's bombarding Jack with, Jack being the rich person, she's bombarding Keely with lots of gifts, lots of love, and it gets a bit overwhelming for Keely. And she does tell Jack, "Look, calm it down a bit," even though Jack is just being nice with Keely, but nevertheless, Jack gets the message, and she knows that she needs to calm it down a little bit. But it's overwhelming. I mean, you can like somebody, love somebody without having to constantly shower them, and that kind of go. That's a really good thing. It kind of once again shows you how far Keely has come as well, because her being a wag, so to speak, who maybe was into these material things, has gone past that now. She doesn't care about the material things like she once did. She just, she has kind of become a bit self-made herself, and these things don't interest her as much as just having, a good relationship. And her relationship with Jack is no longer a secret as well. Like, Jack has kind of said, look, me and Keely are going out, so it has been exposed to the masses, and Keely's totally fine with that, but she just doesn't want all this love bombing, something that Rebecca mentioned, and you kind of saw it unfold during this episode. But now Jack's got the message. Hopefully, that won't continue. Nate as well. He's trying to pluck up the courage to ask this beautiful girl who works at the Greek restaurant. He wants to ask her out, and this is where we see Nate revert back to the old Nate from season 1 of Ted Lasso, the nervous, bumbling Nate. And he doesn't really have initially the courage to ask this girl out, but he eventually does. Certain circumstances where the gift he has for her kind of gets destroyed by getting run over by a car whilst he's going to visit her, and she sees him on the floor, and he picks himself up, and then he just, boom, asks her out. And she says yes. And they go to a different restaurant, of course, and she's looking at like $1 million. We'll see what happens next week regarding that. But overall, just a lovely episode of bonding and relationships and understanding and a bit of self-sacrifice too. We see with Jamie Tart when it comes to the total football how he realizes not everything should be revolved around him but played through him, and he sacrifices the limelight, so to speak, of playing as the upfront player to maybe go back into midfield, so the play can go through him and not be for him. And that kind of shows you his development a little bit, because he was doing a little bit of coaching, and that was just great. You can see the progress these players are going through. These people are all going through. The arcs. It's just, it's lovely, and once again, this still ends up being a feel-good show. It's fantastic. How is this not somehow a family show? Is beyond me, but it can be. It should be. But it isn't, because there's so much, swearing and other elements in, innuendo towards, sexual gratifications and stuff like that, and it can never be a family show. But there's so many times, when this show is not being like vulgar with the swear words and having sort of sexual innuendo. It does feel like that, and that's a lot of the time in an episode. They could have made this show a bit more family orientated, but in a way, I'm very happy that it isn't, because sometimes it's good to have those moments where the show isn't for kids, and it can't be for kids, because it's trying to be adult orientated, and those rare moments when it is like that is what makes the show even better, because it doesn't need to be in your face all the time with those adult orientated moments constantly. It just needs it here and there sprinkled, just to remind you that this is not a family show, even though it does feel like one at times, and it could have been one. And if it was one, it probably would have ended up being shit, to tell you the truth. I mean, we would never have got the scene with the strings tied around the dicks, for instance, which was it still makes me laugh thinking about it right now. Overall, another fantastic episode. I won't give this one a 10 like last week, but I'll definitely give this one a 9. I just love this show. It really did. It just gets me right in the feels, baby. It's so lovely. Yeah, 9 out of 10. Let me know what you think of Ted Lasso, episode 7 or season 3. The strings that bind this. Are you binded to this show? Are you happy with it? Do you wish it was more piss-taking of American culture, American ideology, of this fish out of water? I mean, like I said before, it can't be like that forever. Eventually, even someone like Ted Lasso will adjust to the British way of life. But still, would you still want more of that piss take? I kind of wish there was a little bit more of it, but nevertheless, I'm not unhappy with where this show is going. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye-bye.